Hi everyone. The WTC is over and I am going over my games mentally. Like I'm thinking back across the games and what did I do? Did I do anything wrong? Was there something to be learned from that? So this will be my retelling of the first game at my WTC. It was against a French player and I think his name was Stefan. I if I get this wrong, I'm sorry. I didn't write it down anywhere, so I may have missed it. It was against a French player who was playing Brits. That much I know. Um, and we had a very nice game. My main worry at the start was language barrier, which didn't turn out to be that much of a problem at all. The French players were all pretty good at English. There were a few more problems with some of the Spanish players, but not that much. It has been an issue in the past. It wasn't really that much of an issue this time around. So that was all good. And we came to the first game. We were really prepared, and I think I sort of undervalued the French players in many respects because I didn't rate their lists very high. I thought the lists were pretty crap, to be honest. Um, and I still think that his list, the list that I played against, wasn't good. Um, Unfortunately, stuff happened that turned our game into a draw anyway. So let me tell you all about it. Here we go. So I'm of course doing a small PowerPoint. So game one of my WTC 2024. I was playing against the British list, and I had, of course, my Brits, which you can see over here on your right. So I had British, I had Up and Adam, I had 4 units of Gurkhas, 2 Stuarts, 4 early war motorcycles, land mattress, medium mortar stuff. Right. He had a slightly unusual British list. He had blood curling charge as his national special rule, which I thought was a mistake. It only made a difference in one assault during our game, whereas Up and Adam might have made an assault a difference several times. Um, Vengeance would also have been really beneficial for him. He had only 2 units of Gurkhas. Then he had an engineer unit and a flamethrower. None of these actually did what they were supposed to do, so they weren't inside vehicles. They were foot slugging, which I didn't understand and still don't. Um, he had a Steward and a Humber. That combination I kind of liked. He didn't have the autocannon on his Humber though. He had a light anti-tank gun, I think. Um, and he spent the Humber in a little bit of a weird way. And then he had a medium howitzer. That medium howitzer was key, especially when we get to the next slide where you see um, our table. So you can see that this table has some very open lines, and I think Stefan was pretty pleased about this. We roll off, and I get to place most objectives. So I want to place the objectives so that they are pretty close together. So what I do is I place the central one here, and then Stefan places this one over here. I then took one down here, and Stefan placed this one, and then I placed the final one over here. Now I am placing objectives so that I have 12 between these two objectives and between these two. So no matter what side I get, I can charge from one objective to the other. That was the main worry. I also placed this one here in order to lure Stefan into mirroring me and placing one objective in the back lines. He does. Then I wanted to win the first order dice to see who gets sides. Unfortunately, I didn't. Stefan won that roll, but he gave me the side I wanted anyway. So I ended up over here, and I was very pleased about this. I had large areas of line of sight blocking walls because they were very tall. They were even taller than the Stuarts. I had this line of sight blocking, that line of sight blocking. I was pretty much out of his line of sight overall. And I know why Stefan wanted the other side. It was because he wanted his howitzer to be here and looking down through this central line, locking down this center here. I had a plan for that. Let's look over here. Right, there's this area terrain that's boxed in by high walls. I could push through that. I could push around it using my flankers, my early war motorcycles, push up and start pinning him. Um, so that turns out to be my plan. My plan was always going to be to have just a lieutenant on this objective, to push a Gurkha unit up here, a Gurkha unit up here, just to contest, I was pushing the flankers to see if I could contest one of these two objectives. Then I would take this objective here, this one near the high walls. I could easily do that by having one Gurkha unit sit over here, then run through this gate here, and then just turn 6 beyond that objective. But if I could, and I knew that would secure me the draw, because I could place a steward here that could just run through the walls and drive up and contest this objective. But I really also wanted to try and contest this objective, so I wanted to contest all of his objectives if I could, as many of them as I could, and hold these two. That was the plan. As we all know, stuff happens, and so for me, a lot of stuff happened, basically. Stefan pushes parts of his infantry over here. He had a home guard, which was really crappy, didn't do much. He had a sniper in this building. The home guard went into the building later on. He had his artillery observer. All of that tried to secure that objective. I pushed a couple of motorcycles up along this flank, and I pushed, in the end, my artillery observer, which had been placed here. He shot his artillery bombardment down into this area here. I'll tell you why in a sec. And then he started running up here to see if I could bring somebody up here to contest. And in the end, I actually managed to get my artillery observer up against the wall here and contest. That was inside of 3 inches. Just so I do contest this objective here. He had blocked it off, tried to block it off with a truck. The truck had moved up here first to the center, delivered a bunch of Gurkhas and a Piat team, and then drove over here to block off my access to this area, which by then he was going down with his home guard, even though I was shooting him with my early war motorcycles. Now the center didn't really pan out as I wanted it to. I wanted to push one unit of Gurkhas up here along the wall and then along here, and then have a steward pushing as well. That didn't really work, mostly because my artillery observer had shot his bombardment down here, where Stefan's howitzer was, but it didn't come in for 2 whole turns. So it came in turn 4, which was bad for me because we only ended up playing 5 turns. Not enough. So my Gurkhas really didn't manage to push up here. In the end, I pushed them around here because I lost a single Gurkha unit over here as Stefan's Gurkhas came out, fought me in close combat, won the close combat. Surprisingly, he had fewer men than me, but Gurkha on Gurkha, it's always bad. And then he tried to push his Gurkhas from here down towards my objective. It didn't work out. He couldn't get close to it. I also shot him up a bit, and then pushed towards the objective. Hadn't we got one more turn, the Gurkhas that I was pushing up here would start charging his truck and then consolidating in onto the objective. As it was, I didn't have the time for it. So this objective ended up being just contested. He didn't manage to contest mine. I didn't want to drive up because the Piat team was still there. I had shot at it a couple of times, killed one of them, but didn't manage to kill the whole team. And that was on ambush. I didn't want to bring my steward up straight into a Piat. I might have lost it. So in the end, I didn't rush there, which may actually have been a mistake. That could have won me the game. I was playing for the win over here because by turn 4, as my artillery bombardment came down, my land mattress had been sitting here. It had taken a shot at the house over here with the sniper in it, but then it moved up against the wall, peeked through it, and started shooting at all the stuff that Stefan had clumped up here. He had his engineers down here, he had his horse-drawn limber, he had a mortar team, he had his howitzer, he had a flamethrower team standing on the objective, he had his steward and his humber, all of it was clumped up in a very, very small area. So I just started plinking away, encouraging him to spread out, which he really didn't want to do. He really didn't want to move, and he started getting hit, he started getting pins, and as soon as the bombardment came down, I knew I had him. But by then, we were running out of time. We were close on the end of turn 5. Stefan was not a quick player, but he didn't slow play against me. But had we had turn 6, because by turn 6, Stefan had pushed his Humber armored car up here. I had charged it. It was pinned out. It had 3 or 4 pins. I charged it with 2 Gurkha units. And my motorcycles were down in his back lines. His howitzer was dead from a hit by the land mattress. His Stuart had 4 or 5 pins, and my Stuart was standing right next to it, shooting at it. And I was shooting my Stuart's machine guns at the engineers, at the flamethrower. I could not kill them. So what I would have done had I had turn 6 was I had 2 units of Gurkhas they could have pushed up and at least contested that objective, or my Stuart could have driven over and contested the objective. That objective was not safe for him. Had that happened, I would have won the game. As it was, Stefan kept 2 objectives, I kept 2 objectives, so it ended up a draw. Now, did I make mistakes? Yes. My biggest problem was his sniper, which delayed my forward artillery observer because I had to hide him and then walk him out. Um, of course, then I also rolled badly, so the bombardment didn't come down initially, right? So waiting those 2 turns for that bombardment to come down means I've wasted valuable time, which because Stefan was slow meant that we didn't have time to finish the game. Had we finished the game, I would have won it. There's no doubt I would have won that game. I also lost 1 combat to my left. That was a little bit of a risk. I had pushed up my Gurkhas in line of sight to his Gurkhas. I wanted to do that to charge against his objective, not towards his Gurkhas. Stefan identified this correctly and charged me, which was a huge gamble on his part. I won. Lost. Couldn't have been different, right? He got to hit me first. I think I lost 3 Gurkhas and only killed 1 in return. Not enough, so I was dead. I think I should have run at the end. I should have run instead of charging 2 Gurkha units at his Humber. I should have charged 1 at his Humber, consolidated onto the objective, which was right next to the Humber, and then the other Gurkha unit should have run a turn earlier, straight towards his objective. I didn't, and that was a mistake. I could also have taken my Stuart and run straight at the objective. I didn't. That was a mistake. I could have taken my other Stuart, run straight at the Piat team. That was a mistake. So I could have won this game. There was things I could have done as soon as I saw the time was running out. There were things I could have done to win the game. I didn't, and that was a bad mistake. I was playing on getting the first dice instead, and I was playing on starting turn 6. I should not have done that. Stefan made 1 major mistake that cost him a lot of death and agony, and that was clumping up on my right. Clumping up right next to his howitzer, that big blob, and he had no choice because of the side he had chosen. He chose the wrong side, and he clumped up because of it. And that meant that I could pin him out because I had the multi-launcher, I had the forward artillery observer. It was a bad mistake on his part. He did cleverly push the center objective, which was brilliantly done. I should have moved up there way earlier, but I couldn't because of his howitzer sitting on ambush. And he played suicide trucks, which I guess I've been championing this whole time, like running your truck in front of other units so that they can't move. Brilliant. So yeah, I think Stefan's mistakes meant that he didn't really have a chance of winning this game, but my mistakes meant that the game became a draw, which, yeah, that's just what it happens. So, right, that was my retelling of my game at my first game at the WTC. I was at this point not very pleased. The team, we had all thought we could win against France, But what happened in the matchup was we all got the list that we didn't want to play. I was playing Gurkha on Gurkha. I do not want to do that. All the way down the line, every one of us had said, that's the one list I would rather not play. And every one of us got that one. That was bad, which meant that my team lost the first round, which was not like it wasn't a massive problem because you can actually still win a tournament of 6 games if you lose one round. And it did mean that we went way down in the standing, so we got some easy matchups the next few times. But we should have won this game. We definitely, and I personally definitely should have won this game. I was not happy about having it time out on me, especially because it wasn't me that was slow playing, and I was not a slow player. I am not a slow player. All my other games finished with 45 to an hour left, so I finished games in an hour and a half, not 2.5 hours. So it wasn't me that was the problem here. Was Stefan a problem? No, he was just slower, and that did mean that we ended up finishing out of time. Yeah, I knew that the podium was now a stretch for us, and I didn't like it because we were there to win, right? I always go to tournaments to win tournaments. I don't go to tournaments to become second place or third place or fourth place. I go to win. And we really wanted to beat the Spanish because they had won at that point 3 times in a row, the WTC, but we did beat them. Both at one WTC, we won the finals against them, but couldn't catch up to them on points. And we also beat them at World Open War. So I was hoping we could do it again and secure a first place trophy. No such luck if you start losing games to the French. And I'm not crapping on the French. They were really good players, much better than anticipated. The lists weren't good, but the players were really good. Anywho, that was it for me today. I will see you in the next one where I talk about game 2. Cheers.